And if the court was framing the position of the defendant as being unfair unless set aside, then wasn't the court framing the defendant? Greetings, hello again. In my last video, I talked about a question the judge asked during jury selection in the defamation trial against Summer Bushnell. That question provided context for a second, which I'm covering here today. I personally believe this deserves some significant attention. Here it is.
I'm going to try to delicately ask the next question, the follow-up question. Again, please don't elaborate too much, but some folks that come in have religious positions that they cannot sit in judgment of another person. I could also see that there's like a religious position that in this specific case may preclude you from making a decision. Are any of you willing to set aside this religious position and render a fair and impartial verdict here today?
I really don't think I could on that.
This is number 16 for the record. You don't think you could? Any objection to 16 being excused?
No objection from Mr. Posey, Your Honor.
No objection. Objection from Ms.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bushnell.
I have a few questions. The judge referred to what he called a religious position in this specific case. And then he said, quote, "Are any of you willing to set aside this religious position and render a fair and impartial verdict here today?" Unquote. This is my question. This is the United States of America. From where did we get a framework of law which values and promotes fairness and impartiality? Isn't it from here? Do not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When you give testimony in a lawsuit, do not pervert justice by siding with the crowd, and do not show favoritism to a poor man in his lawsuit. Exodus 23, 2b and 3. Or isn't it from here? Have nothing to do with the false charge. And do not put an innocent or honest person to death, for I will not acquit the guilty. Do not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds those who see and twists the words of the righteous. Exodus 23, 6b through 8. Or here. Do not pervert justice. Do not show partiality to the poor or favoritism to the great, but judge your neighbor fairly. Leviticus 19:15. Or finally here, appoint judges and officials for each of your tribes in every town the Lord your God is giving you, and they shall judge the people fairly. Do not pervert justice or show partiality. Do not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and twists the words of the righteous. Follow justice and justice alone, so that you may live and possess the land the Lord your God is giving you. Deuteronomy 16:18-20. Is there somewhere that it says to make an exception and to be unfair to a drag performer? Is there somewhere that it says to be unfair or partial ever in any way? Will we even have courtrooms with judges and juries in America, if not for what I just read earlier about appointing judges? So why would anyone need to set aside this religious position? I know this is not the religious position that the judge was talking about. What position exactly now was he implying? And now that the jurors have done this, as the judge directed them to do, they can now give their full devotion to what? The law. Remember, this is a defamation case. This is not about whether the defendant broke a city ordinance or ran a red light. It's about fame and whether it was hurt. It's about what is the truth. My wife spoke. Was it true? And who decides? And it's about a spirit of intent. More specifically, was the spirit malicious? And so I ask, once you set aside your spiritual position and you're attempting to discern a spirit of intent, from where now exactly do you do that? From what spiritual framework? Or what alternative spiritual framework? What within you informs your interpretation of the evidence of that spirit of intent, whether it was malicious? How is it that we have trials of man which judge what is in a heart? You know, the people who are my wife's adversaries often proclaim she is hateful simply for her faith identity alone. So what about the jurors who are not religious? What about their biases? I didn't hear the judge ask which non-religious persons would be willing to set aside their non-religious position. Or are we to believe that non-religious jurors simply have no position about drag shows in public parks or the people on the other side of the issue in 2024? I'll answer that. There are those in the community and powerful interests throughout the country who wanted my wife to be found guilty no matter what the facts were in the case. So why was there no need to address bias on the other side? How could the judge ask one side to set aside their religious position, framing it as prejudicial, and to the other say and do nothing? How? Why? I want to be clear. The judge wasn't a bad man, but this wasn't about that. Nevertheless, weren't the jurors essentially instructed that the religious position in this specific case, whatever that means, would be viewed by the court as something unfair, partial, and therefore prejudicial, and that their duty would be to set it aside now, the judge's words, clearing the path to only render a verdict with the other position in judgment against the defendant? Wouldn't that have a chilling effect on the jury? Was it not the defendant in this case who would have been understood to be holding the specific religious position which is being framed as being unfair unless set aside? And if the court was framing the position of the defendant as being unfair unless set aside, then wasn't the court framing the defendant? No. Let's take a step back. Is it even ethical to require everyone to set aside their religious positions before proceeding? Is it even constitutional? Can anyone hear what I'm saying? He does. So what now? I want to encourage you in this direction. The first solution that I'm going to is prayer, that their hearts would be softened. Everyone involved in this case, the plaintiff and his counsel, those who are supporting them, the judge and everyone involved in the legal process, the judges to come and everyone involved in the appeal, lawmakers, media, the public, the next generation. Prayer that they would have eyes that can see and ears that can hear and a new heart, a soft heart, which only God can give them. To any of those listening on the other side who don't consider themselves religious and for some reason are still here, who are wondering what to think right now because you haven't closed your mind to the possibility that this trial and other trials like it, now ongoing, may be wrong, may be unjust, and that God may exist, here's something you can do. Right now, you can direct your attention to God above, and you can repeat with me this request. To the one who says he's my Father in heaven, please open my eyes to see what you see. Please open my ears to hear what you hear, and give me a new heart in which your Spirit lives. In the name of Jesus Christ. If you prayed that, then watch and keep watching in the days to come and then in the weeks to come. Let me explain something. This is a spiritual battle. The tactics and implements I use are spiritual. When you ask for God to open your eyes, just don't be surprised at what you might see. My name is John Bushnell for The Lord Redeems. Please like and share this. If you can, please provide some small amount of support at thelordredeems.com and encourage others to do the same. If you're not too afraid to do these things, then may the Lord bless you and keep you. To the rest of you, I ask, when will you take a stand? If not here and now, then when? To repeat what President Lincoln once said, you cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. Stand with me in faith and love and in truth, and together with God, we can do some good. If God is with us, then who can be against us? Until next time, thank you.